The ninth letter of the Aleph-bet is the letter Tes. Tes sounds like the letter T. Ta. Put a kametz under it, it's ta. A patach is ta. Put a cholam, it's to. So the phonic of the letter Tes is similar to that of the letter T. The meaning of Tes is toiv. Tov means good. There are two types of good. There's tov, good, and then there's tov ma'od, very good. The gematria of Tes is 9, and if you spell out the Tes, which is Tes Yud and a Samach, Tes Yud and a Saf, you have 419. If you drop the zeros, the mispar katan, or you add 4 plus 1 plus 9, it equals 14, which is Yad, the hand of God. Even when things are not so good, if you look deeper, you will see it is truly good. You will see the hand of God. The graphic design of the Tes is like an inverted rim of a pot, or a man bending his head in prayer. So you have the letter Vav, which is the male, the Zayin, the female, the Ches, the marriage between the male and the female. After that comes the child, the hidden good in the womb of its mother, the letter Tes. The Talmud tells us that there was a person, a holy sage, by the name of Nachum Ish Gamzu. He was called Nachum Ish Gamzu, Nachum the man of Gamzu, for Gamzu l'toiva. He always said, this is for the good. Whatever happened to him, no matter how terrible it might be, he would say, Gamzu l'toiva, this is also for the good. A story is told in the Talmud that once the Roman emperor made a decree against his town. And so the people of his town sent him to speak to the Roman emperor. And he took with him a chest load of precious jewels, diamonds and pearls, to give a gift to the emperor. On his way, he stopped off at a motel. He went to sleep, and he asked the innkeeper to lock up the chest of jewels overnight. The innkeeper, knowing that it had in it precious jewels, took the jewels for himself and filled the treasure box with sand. Nachum Ish Gamzu got up the next morning. He took now the treasure box filled with sand, and he brought it to the emperor. The emperor opens it up. He sees sand. He says, what is this? The Jews are making a laughing stock out of me. This is the gift they're giving me. And right away they locked up Nachum Ish Gamzu in prison. What did he say? Gamzu l'tova. This is for the good. He knew that this has to be for good, or else God would not do it. And as he's in prison, Elijah the prophet dresses up as one of the king's ministers and comes into the king and says, King, do you really think the Jews are so stupid? Do you think they're so dumb? Do you think they would bring you a treasure full of sand? This must be the famous sand of Abraham. When Abraham fought against the 4 mighty kings, he took the sand single-handedly and he threw it against the kings, and the sand was a secret weapon. It turned into spears and to arrows, and that's the way he was able to single-handedly win over the 4 mightiest kings of his time. It must be the secret sand, the secret weapon of the Jewish people. At that time, they had a war on one of the fronts. They took the treasure of sand to the front. They threw it into the air, and lo and behold, it turned into arrows and to spears. They couldn't believe it. This was the greatest gift ever. They went back to prison. They took out Nachum Ish Gamzu. And the king filled that treasure box that had the sand filled with precious jewels, sent him back to the town, and removed the decree from the Jewish people. Gamzu l'toiva, this sand itself was for the good. Similarly, we find a student of Nachum Ish Gamzu, known as Rabbi Akiva, the famous Rabbi Akiva. He said, Kol ma da'avad rachmana, whatever God does, l'tav hu da'avid. He does this also for the good. A story is told that Rabbi Akiva was once traveling, and he traveled with a donkey, with a rooster, and a candle. That's the way he traveled. A rooster to wake him up early in the morning to study Torah and pray. A candle to study late at night when the sun would set. And a donkey to carry all his books in which he can study. And so on his travels, he came to a town and he asked to have some lodging. And nobody wanted to take him in. He went from door to door. So what did he do? He turned around, went into the forest, and he made his night in the forest. He took out the candle, he lit the candle, and he began to study Torah. The next morning, that night, while he's studying, a wind comes and blows out the candle. And then, after that, a ravenous cat jumps on the rooster and kills the rooster. And then a lion jumps on the donkey and kills the donkey. After each one of these episodes, Rabbi Akiva said, whatever God does, He does for the good. The next morning, Rabbi Akiva understood what happened. The town that he was supposed to sleep in the night before was killed out by robbers. And those that survived were taken away as slaves. And all their money was taken away from them. If Rabbi Akiva would have been in town, he might have been one of them too. And the robbers ran into the forest. If they would have seen the candle or heard the rooster or heard the noise of the donkey, they would have traveled in the direction of Rabbi Akiva to make sure that there were no witnesses. And so even though he lost the donkey and he lost the rooster and his candle was put out, yet he realized everything that God does is for the good. The Rebbe makes a distinction between the first story and the second story. The first story, the actual treasure was the sand, and that itself was the good. In the second story, the good unraveled only after the story, the next day. But there was a loss. There was a loss of the donkey, the loss of his rooster. And the Rebbe says, the way you act to God, that's the way God acts to you. Nachamish Gamzu that said, Gamzu l'toive, this is good. This actual episode, this actual occurrence is a good occurrence. That became good. Rabbi Akiva said, I know that God does everything for the good. In the future, I will see the good. Rabbi Akiva only saw the good in the future. The Rebbe has said, today, as we stand at the threshold of the coming of Mashiach, everyone can reach the level of Nachamish Gamzu. That we could believe that Gamzu l'toiva, whatever happens to us, this is for the good. And by believing that this is for the good, it makes this the good. The Tzemach Tzedek would say, Trach gut wird sein gut. Think positive is going to be positive. And this is the meaning of the letter Tes. Tes is toiv, everything is good. It's interesting to note that Rashi tells us that tov, what does tov mean? Tov means good. This is the godly soul. The Yetzer Tov, the evil, the good inclination. Tov ma'od, very good. This represents the evil inclination. And the question is, how could the evil inclination be very good? And the answer is, when God gives us challenges, and God gives us difficulties, we have to realize that it's for the good. It's to make us grow and become stronger and become better. And then we will see how it is truly not only good, but toiv ma'od, very, very good. And this is the meaning of the letter Tes.